In this lesson, we need to find answers to the following key questions. What are input numbers and output numbers? What is a function? What is a rule? And what are dependent and independent variables? Find output numbers for given input numbers. What are output numbers? Oh, thanks, Snoot. By the way, this is Zoot and Snoot, and they are helping me with my work. Output numbers are numbers that you obtain when you apply the rule to the input numbers. We need an example. This is a function machine. So let's choose a rule. Let's choose multiply by 2 and then plus 1. No, plus 1 and then plus 1. Then we choose input numbers. Let's choose a couple of negative numbers. Negative 2. And what happens? We get an output number. How did that work? Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Let's put negative 1 in and the answer will be negative 1. What about 0? 0 times 2 is 0 plus 1 is 1. And 1, 2, and 3. So those are all the input numbers, and the rule applied to the input numbers created the output numbers. What was our rule? We multiplied 2 by the input number. X represents the input number, and then we added 1. This is our input and output table. Inputs, numbers, and the corresponding output numbers. And this is how it looks on a graph. The input numbers and the output numbers created a graph, a straight line. Let us practice. If you use the rule 30x plus 1 and use numbers that are positive fractions with denominators 2, 3, and 5, what kind of output numbers will you obtain? So we choose the input numbers. They have to be fractions with denominators 2, 3, and 5. And now we need a rule so that we can obtain the output numbers. So the rule is 30x plus 1. So the input value is substituted into a formula to give another value, the output value. So let's substitute. Instead of the x, there will be a half. So 30 times a half, or half of 30, is 15 plus 1 is 16. So there's our output number. We'll do the rest quickly. A third of 30 is definitely 10 plus 1 is 11, etc. So there are my output numbers. So what do we notice about our output numbers? Well done, Zoot. They are all whole numbers. He wonders why. You're right, Snoot, because the denominators of the fractions, the input numbers that we use, are all factors of 30. So if half of 30 will give me a number without a remainder, and that's why it gives us whole numbers. What are the independent variables and the dependent variables? The independent variable is the input number, and the dependent variable is the output number. Independent because we choose the values. Dependent because this value depends on a formula. The formula that is applied to this value will result in the output value. Okay guys, now we just need to practice. Happy learning!